Okay, so you really want to nail talking about your day in English. Well, you came to the right place. We're going deep on some awesome materials that are like a crash course in daily routines. Uh, it's like having a personal English tutor, like right there in your pocket.
It really is kind of surprising how much depth there is to this topic. Like, you'd think it'd be simple, right? Talking about your day.
Totally.
But it's not just about the grammar. It's like capturing those little things, those nuances of everyday life, but in another language.
Yeah, and I was really struck by some of the vocab they picked out. Words like relax and skip breakfast. They seem so basic. But when you actually think about them, they say a lot about like our values and what's normal in different cultures.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Like, take relax, for example. In some cultures, it could mean like quiet time, just thinking or being in nature, right?
Right.
But in other places, it might be more about hanging out with friends, doing something lively,
Hmm.
you know,
I hadn't thought about it like that.
and then skipping breakfast. Whoa, in some cultures, that's like totally unheard of.
Yes. It's breakfast.
But in others, it's like a normal thing just to save time. So getting those subtle cultural differences is key to using the right words. Like, you really belong. Yeah.
It's so cool how such simple words can open up this whole world of cultural understanding. But let's get back to the nuts and bolts, the grammar. The materials really focus on the present simple tense.
And for good reason. The present simple is basically like the foundation, the backbone of daily routine talk. It's all about those habits and actions that we do every day, filling up our day.
So it seems pretty straightforward subject plus the base verb.
Right.
But is there more to it than that?
You get the basics down, but there are a couple little things that can trip people up even if they've been learning English for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember that little S we tack on to the verb when it's third person singular?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He walks, she talks, the sun sets. It's a tiny thing, but it makes a big difference for speaking
Oh,
correctly.
yes. That little S, sneaky little thing.
It is.
But once you get it, it's like using the present simple is just automatic.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we want, right? To be able to talk about our day without even thinking about the grammar too much. Just flows naturally.
And speaking of sounding natural, let's talk about those time expressions. The materials are full of them. In the morning, at noon in the evening, it's like they're giving us a little schedule for our day.
They really are. Time expressions are so much more than just marking time. They add this structure and flow to what you're saying. Like, instead of just, I wake up, you can say, I wake up early in the morning. It just paints a clearer picture for whoever you're talking to.
Ah, I see what you mean. It's like you're painting a picture with words. Those time expressions add details that make the routine come to life.
Exactly. And you can use them strategically, too,
Yeah.
to emphasize parts of your day. Like, say you want to show how dedicated you are to working out. You could say, I always make time for a workout in the afternoon, no matter how busy my day is.
That's a great example. So it's not just about saying the time, it's using those time expressions to add meaning. But what about those times when our routine isn't exactly fixed? How do we talk about those variations and exceptions?
That's where our friends, the adverbs of frequency, step in.
Okay.
Words like always, usually, sometimes, rarely, never. They give us a whole range of options for describing how often we do something.
And those adverbs can be really telling, can't they? It's a totally different picture if you say, I always eat breakfast versus I sometimes skip breakfast.
Huge difference. Adverbs of frequency add this nuance and personality to describing our routine. They tell the listener not just what we do, but how often. And that can tell you a lot about a person.
Wow, this is way more than just a basic grammar lesson. We're talking about cultural stuff, strategic word choices, even how to express your personality, and it's all connected to something as simple as our daily routine.
Yeah, it really is amazing how much you can learn about someone just from listening to them talk about their day, right?
Yeah.
Like their word choices, the adverbs they use, it all builds up this little picture of their personality and how they live.
So true. It's like those adverbs of frequency are little sneak peeks into who we are. And speaking of sneak peeks, the source material has these great example conversations. It's like you're getting a glimpse into someone's life and seeing how they use all this language stuff we're talking about, like in real situations.
Those examples are so helpful for language learners. They show you exactly how to put the vocabulary, the grammar, those time expressions together to make it sound like natural, real conversation.
I especially like that role play part where you're meeting someone new and they ask you about your routine. It's like they knew every possible way someone could start that conversation.
That's what makes a good language learning resource so good. It doesn't just teach you the rules, it gives you the tools to actually use them in real life. And speaking of using what we've learned, they even have a writing activity. It's your chance to try writing a paragraph about your own routine using everything we've talked about so far.
I was just going to say that. Such a smart way to really make sure we understand it all. It's one thing to learn about adverbs of frequency, but it's totally different to actually use them to talk about your own life, right?
Exactly. And it's not just about practicing over and over. It's about being creative, using those words to express yourself. When you write about your own routine, you start to see how all these language tools can help you talk about your own experiences and what makes you you.
Okay, so we've got the vocab, the grammar, the time expressions, the adverbs. I'm feeling pretty good about talking about my routine in general. But what about when someone asks a more specific question? Like, what's the first thing you do when you wake up? Or what do you usually do on weekends?
That's a great question. Knowing the basic stuff is really important, but to be really fluent, you got to be able to go deeper and answer those more detailed questions about your routine.
Okay, I'm ready. Lay those expert tips on me.
All right, first of all, don't be afraid to give longer answers. Like instead of just, I have breakfast, you could say, I usually start my day with a bowl of oatmeal and some fresh fruit. Adding those little details makes your answer way more interesting, and you're giving more information too.
That makes sense. It's like we're painting a more detailed picture for the listener,
I
right?
like it. And don't be afraid to use more descriptive words. Like if someone asks about your evening routine, you could say, I love to unwind with a good book and a cup of herbal tea before I go to bed. It's like those little sensory details make your routine come alive for the other person.
I like that. It's like inviting the listener into your world, letting them experience your routine with you. Okay, so expand on our answers. Use descriptive language check. What else?
Here's another good tip. Make your answers personal. If someone asks about your weekend routine, you can say, on weekends, I love to explore new hiking trails with my dog. Adding those personal touches makes your routine more unique, and the other person will remember it better.
Yeah, it's those personal touches that make conversations more interesting, don't you think? It's not just about sharing facts, it's about connecting with the other person, letting them get to know you a little bit.
You're exactly right. And one last thing, it's totally fine to pause and think for a second before you answer. It shows that you're really thinking about the question and trying to give a good answer.
So it's all about taking a breath, organizing your thoughts, and then giving an answer that's both correct and engaging. These tips are awesome. I feel like I've already leveled up my conversational skills. Man, I'm feeling way more confident about talking about my routine in English now. This deep dive has been awesome. I never thought there was so much to learn about something as basic as our daily routines.
It really shows you how powerful language can be.
Right.
Even like the most everyday stuff can become super interesting when you start looking at all the little details, the vocab, the grammar, the cultural stuff.
Yeah, it's true. And for everyone listening who's learning English, remember this. Talking about your daily routine is a fantastic way to practice and get better at speaking.
Absolutely. It's something everyone can relate to, right? And it gives you so many chances to use all those important tools, the present simple, those time expressions, adverbs of frequency. You use them in a natural way, like you're actually having a conversation.
And speaking of interesting conversations, the materials ended with this thought-provoking question. Think about your daily routine. What 3 adverbs of frequency best capture who you are?
Whoa. Now that is a good question. It's simple, but it can tell you so much about yourself, your personality, what's important to you, how you go about your day.
It's like a little self-discovery journey, but using adverbs. I love it. I'm definitely going to think about that one.
I hope everyone listening will do the same. And maybe even share your 3 adverbs with a friend who speaks English. Could be a fun conversation starter. And who knows, you might learn something new about yourself.
That's such a great idea. And the most important thing to remember is that practice makes perfect. The more you use these tools, the more natural and easy your English will become. So keep practicing, keep learning, and most of all, keep having fun with the language.
Well said. Until next time, happy learning, everyone.